So, it's the new year, which means new games, new hardware, new technology, especially in the market of computers and gaming. So to kick off the new year, I thought why not grab a new GPU in the January sales. So, yeah, I did. I grabbed a new GPU. So I've been looking online since like September of last year, like 2019, because I just know that when 2020 hits and we got games like Doom 2, Cyberpunk, that's only naming those two because they're the only games I really give a shit about. For those titles, I need something that is going to hold up, something that's going to actually help me boost my performance. So I've been looking around, and for the sale, on the January sales, I picked up an RTX 2060 Super, and I'm going to just talk about it and show you guys some gameplay and show you if it's good or not. I mean, I can't talk too bad about it. I mean, the last time I did a tech review was on a Ryzen 7 1700, and that video kind of banged, to be honest with you. So if you guys like this kind of stuff, then let me know. I'll do it. I'll make it a yearly occurrence, but minus my cat. So yeah, like I said before, there's going to be just some benchmarks and some testing on different games. Because I got this card on the 10th of January, I believe, and it's now the 19th. I'm recording this, so yeah. Hopefully with the week or so I've had to test games and stuff like that, and life getting in the way and being a bitch, I've got back into London and life is a bitch, so I've been really busy. So yeah, hopefully regular uploads. But anyway, let's get on to some testing and stuff. Right, so it's now the next day, and we're going to be talking about the benchmarker that I've done throughout the past week or so for this card. But anyway, let's just crack on with it, shall we? So here are the graphics settings for Doom. Everything is maxed out to the frickin' fullest. Everything is completely maxed out. And as you can see by the gameplay, the game itself looks incredible. I'm looking at the footage right now on screen, and just actually playing it for yourself as well. Like the video doesn't make up for how good it looks. Trust me, it really doesn't. Because obviously it's going to be downscaled to shit for YouTube and everything, but yeah, it looks incredible. It plays amazingly. Like, I'm using OBS to record it, so yeah, it's like 144 frames, but when I'm not recording it, it goes up to like 170, 180, and just stays at like 200 frames all the time. Obviously, depending on what level you're on as well, but to be honest with you, Doom's already an amazingly well-optimized game, so this was just a no-brainer. I'm using the Vulkan graphics API as well, so yeah, Doom runs amazingly, no surprises there. Alright, so a newer game, we have Jedi Fallen Order. Now, I'm running this all on epic settings, which is like the highest settings you can get for this game, that it runs very well on max settings. I was getting like 80 frames most of the time. It would drop now and then, which is really annoying. It would drop now and then to like, it's just like to the high 50s sometimes, which really annoys me. But for the most part, the majority of the time I've been playing this game, it's been on, yeah, like 80, 90 frames per second, and even higher sometimes. So yeah, it's quite a well optimized game. There are a few bugs with it though, which really annoy me, but we're talking about performance, not the actual game itself. So yeah, there's not really much to say about Fallen Order. It's quite a well optimized game. It's okay. There's a few bugs here and there, but yeah, it's running quite well.
Plenty more where that came from.
The Witcher 3. So all of the settings are put up to ultra, and surprise, surprise, the game runs fantastically. It's a very well optimized game, but not only that, but just this card on ultra settings allows The Witcher to run really well. And I put the sharpness on as well, and my goodness, this game looks amazing. It really does, and I've forgotten how good it looks since I've started replaying it recently. But yeah, because I'm doing another playthrough, and my gosh, this game looks incredible. And yeah, with this card, it really helps me boost the performance on The Witcher 3. Next up, we've got the Rise of the Tomb Raider. I've done a bunch of more testing on Rise of the Tomb Raider because it's quite a tricky game to optimize, really. There's a lot of tricks and stuff you need to do with this game. Overall, when I'm putting it on very high, I'm not recording, I'm just playing the game, it stays at around 70-80 frames per second, which is pretty damn good, especially that this game takes a lot to run. I'll show you guys some benchmarks as well, but mainly some of the missions. I don't really care about the benchmarking tools and stuff, because 9 times out of 10 they're all pre-rendered and they don't really show the full potential. I'll show you more when I show Grand Theft Auto 5 in a bit and Red Dead Redemption 2. but with Rise of the Tomb Raider especially, this was used to benchmark a whole ton of computers, so of course I'm going to use Rise of the Tomb Raider. There is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I haven't got it because I'm broke and I'm a uni student, so, you know, it's basically the same game anyway, but, yeah, so Rise of the Tomb Raider runs really, really well. I put it down to high settings as well, just to kind of show that there's not much of a difference between ultra and high settings, or very high and high. There's really not much of a difference. The gameplay you're seeing in Syria, this is on high settings, and it's staying over 70 frames, which is great. It's really, really good, considering, like I said, how demanding this game is. So, yeah, next up we have what I was talking about, which is GTA 5. So we've got GTA 5 running on most of it maxed out. I did do a benchmarking for it, like the benchmark tool. It stayed above 60 majority of the time on all the ultra settings, but there are some things that I have turned down, and I've done a little bit of testing on the rooftop of this hospital as well. But mainly I'm just going to throw some gameplay of me running around, driving around, shooting some cops and stuff. The game was smooth as hell. I barely noticed any drops or anything, and when it did drop below 50 when I looked back at the footage, it was smoothened out. GTA 5 is a really well optimized game, and there's not really I can complain about this, to be honest. But like I said before, there are some settings that you can turn down if you're struggling with performance, like MSAA doesn't really matter. Some anti-aliasing options don't really matter. It's just personal preference. But anti-aliasing does take up a lot of your GPU. For those who are, you know, not new but aren't aware of what settings affect what. For GTA 5 there are some advanced options, and there's like extended distance scaling, population variety, long shadows, high resolution shadows. High resolution shadows don't do anything to the game, so just turn them off. Same with extended distance scaling, it just puts more pressure onto your GPU and it lowers the frame rate drastically, so turn that all the way down because you do not need it at all. Post-processing is basically like your motion blur and just your effects and stuff for like when you're going at high speeds or when you crash and there's a bit of motion blur. You can turn that off as well if you like, but for the most part on ultra settings this game ran brilliantly above 60, 70 frames, 80 frames even. So yeah, GTA 5 is a very well optimized game, and this card definitely complements it well. Now I'm going to get to the black sheep of the family, which is Red Dead Redemption 2, because holy shit, this game takes a lot to run, and from reports and stuff, you might have heard, guys, that this game isn't very well optimized at all. The launch for this was just abysmal. This game was abysmal, but now I've been playing it a bit more now, and some of the things have been ironed out. It's not perfect, but some of it's been ironed out, and my god, this game looks incredible. It was made for PC. Like it should have had PC in mind in the first place, because if it looks this good all the time, if games looked this good all the time, if companies just put their attention to PC games more, we'd have so many better looking console games as well. Because you can just tell that Red Dead 2 is a clear port from console, and they haven't really done much, but man, just some of the settings they've done with Red Dead 2, it looks fucking amazing. Like, I did this mission at night, which is in the gameplay, and just the god rays of the moon shining over like the grass and into my camera was just fucking incredible. And yeah, the game runs really well on a lot of the higher settings, but there are just personal preference things that I did turn down, like motion blur and water quality and geometry detail and grass detail. I turned some of that stuff down, but textures were on ultra, which is really what matters the most, how the game looks itself. The textures were on ultra. It ran fine. It ran really well. It stayed above 50 for the most part, but when you go into cities like Saint Denis, it can drop, but for the most part it stayed above 60. So yeah, Red Dead 2 ran pretty decently, considering what I had to work with it not being well optimized. So yeah, it ran pretty well. Alright, let's go. Let's look at some shooter games now. Let's look at some more shooter games, like, you know, Doom and stuff. But we got Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege, all on very high settings. I can put on ultra, but there's really no point in putting it on ultra, just because there's no difference and it just drops frames, and it's whatever really. But I've had it on very high. All my settings were on very high, and just I put tweaks to some of the things. But yeah, Siege ran brilliantly, and that's all I need to say. It ran really, really well, and it was such a smooth FPS gameplay experience. I was playing it with some of my playing this game with my mate Lewis last night. It was just amazing to play. It really was, and it really got me invested in Siege again. So I'm definitely going to be playing Siege in the future because of this card, and yeah, it runs really well. Destiny 2. Now, here's another one of those games which is quite tricky because optimization for this game isn't amazing, but it's not bad. Like, I can run the game on high settings fine, and ultra sometimes. Like on the highest settings, I can run it okay at times, but there's just moments where the frames do drop anyway, which is kind of annoying, especially like the free roam modes. Crucible and Strikes were fine when I played them, but the footage you got here is just me going into just little dungeons and lost sectors and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, free roaming. There were some parts where it did drop frames, which kind of annoyed me, but at the same time, I wasn't really that put off by it. It was fine. Yeah, that's what I got to say about Destiny 2. And last but not least, we have Borderlands 3. I tested Borderlands 3 on some various graphic settings, and it seems that the very high settings and ultra settings were okay for it, and it ran pretty well. The only time that dropped frames was in massive like battle scenarios, like high intense gameplay. It dropped to like, the lowest it dropped to was about like 50 or 45 or whatever, but for the most part it stayed above 70, which is pretty good. For those who are not really familiar with overclocking, I don't advise you do it too much because it can damage your GPU. For someone like me who's been playing PC games for like 4 or 5 years now, I have a good understanding of my system and what it's capable of and how to overclock stuff. So I'm using this software called MSI Afterburner. It's quite a standard software if you have an NVIDIA graphics card or even an AMD graphics card. But I've used it sometimes to overclock some of the games. I used it for Rise of the Tomb Raider and for Red Dead Redemption 2. But like I said, I do not advise that you overclock it too much, just because it can damage your card. If obviously long periods. If you whack everything on like right now for like, you know, an hour gameplay, it's not going to damage your card at all. It's long-term damage it can cause to it, depending on like your you know, how your CPU handles it as well, how your power supply and your voltage is being managed as well. That's another big part of voltage, so be careful with that. You don't want to fucking fry your computer. So yeah, just put some stuff up little by little, like put the clock rate up little by little, put the megahertz up a little bit, the voltage up a tiny bit, put the temperature limit up a little bit, and the power percentage up a little bit, like I've been doing. And you can find your sweet spot where you want to overclock it. For example, if you put your power limit up to from 100% to like 105 or 106 or 10%, it's not going to really do much. It will just boost your performance a slight tad. If you put the clock rate and the memory clock rate up a little bit as well, like I've done, I put my clock rates to like 100 megahertz a second, like plus 100 megahertz per second and plus 200. It's just a slight boost in performance, but other than that, the core card itself does enough. Like when I was running Doom and GTA and Destiny and Jedi Fallen Order and Siege, for the most part it was running fine. Actually, no, that's a lie. Siege, for one part, I was overclocking, but you don't really need it for games like Siege because they're already well optimized. But yeah, my point is that you can overclock this card. It has 8 gigabytes of video memory, so any game on Ultra you should be able to run fine. Just keep in mind your CPU as well. My CPU is a Ryzen 7 1700. I may have to upgrade it soon to a 2700 because I really like the Ryzen processors. I think they're really good complements to the RTXs and the NVIDIA cards. But like I said, if you are a fan of Intel, like an Intel i7 or an i9 could be good for you as well to complement the card. So yeah, if you're in a desperate need of an upgrade, if you've looked around on the internet and you somehow stumble upon this video, give this card a try. You might like it, you might not. If you don't, send it back. If you like it, keep it. But for me personally, I really enjoyed my experience with this card, and I'm glad that I upgraded. So that's the video basically. Thank you very much for being patient and watching, guys. And hopefully this will give you a nice understanding of if you need to upgrade, or just it's just an interesting video to watch really, and just see how cards work and how gameplay is. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully more videos to come soon. I've been very busy. The end of 2019 was just super busy for me. I couldn't get any videos out, and I'm just bummed out. massively. I've been out constantly, I've been doing my gym stuff, I've been working, you know, doing my work, and just at uni and drama school, and it's all just a bit hectic. So just, you know, that's just my life really. But yeah, other than that, I'm really happy to get this video out. I'm excited to be editing again. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy and goodbye.